When my daughter-in-law texted me, "Take that photo down right now," I thought it was just about privacy. I had no idea that one family picture was about to uncover the secret she had been hiding from all of us. A secret that would break my son's heart and change everything in our family. Before I tell you what happened, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing how far these stories reach. My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 62 years old, a retired school teacher, and a proud grandmother. After my husband passed away a few years ago, my family became my whole world. I live for the weekends when my son Michael, his wife Lena, and their little girl Sophie come over. Michael is 35, a good man with a gentle heart. He has always been my rock, even when life knocked us down. He works hard, and he is the kind of person who never complains, no matter how tired he is. Lena, his wife, is 33. She is beautiful, always dressed perfectly, and she knows how to charm people. At first, I thought we would grow close, but it never really happened. She keeps me at a distance, polite but cold, like I am a guest instead of family. And then there is Sophie. She is 5 years old, full of energy, and the light of my life. Her laugh fills my house with joy. Whenever I look at her, I see the future, and I feel so grateful. I love taking photos of these family moments. Pictures are my way of holding on to the good times. I share them online with my sisters, cousins, and friends. They all live far away, and this is how we stay connected. That Sunday afternoon, we had a barbecue in my backyard. The air smelled like grilled chicken and sweet corn, and Sophie ran barefoot through the grass, chasing bubbles. Michael was laughing, Lena was smiling, and for once, everything felt perfect. I grabbed my phone and snapped a photo of the four of them together. I didn't think much of it when I posted it online later that evening. To me, it was just a memory worth saving. But only a few hours later, I received a message that made my stomach drop. I was sitting in my living room later that night when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Lena. The words on the screen made me blink twice, just to make sure I had read them correctly. She wrote, "Evelyn, take that photo down right now." At first I thought she was joking. It was just a simple picture of the family enjoying a Sunday meal. Everyone looked happy, and Sophie looked adorable with her little face covered in barbecue sauce. Why would she want me to delete it? I tapped out a reply, trying to keep my tone friendly. "Why, dear? It's such a nice photo. Everyone loved it already." Her response came back instantly, like she had been waiting with her phone in her hand. "I don't care. Delete it. Now." Her sharpness stunned me. I sat back in my chair, staring at the message, my chest tightening. I wanted to believe this was just about privacy. Maybe she didn't want her pictures online. That would have made sense. But something about her words felt different. It wasn't just annoyance. It was panic. I hesitated for a few minutes. My finger hovered over the delete button, but then I pulled it back. My son and my granddaughter looked so happy in that photo. What harm could it cause? I decided to text her again. "Is there something wrong with it? Everyone looks wonderful." This time, it wasn't a text I got. It was a phone call. The screen lit up with her name, and I answered quickly. "Lena, is everything all right?" Her voice was sharp and almost shaking. "Evelyn, I am not asking. I'm telling you. Take it down. Do you understand me?" The anger in her voice cut me to my core. I had been nothing but kind to her, always careful not to overstep. "Lena, why are you so upset? It's just a picture," I said softly. "You wouldn't understand," she snapped back. "Just do it. Don't question me." And before I could say another word, she hung up. I sat in silence, the sound of the dial tone echoing in my ears. My hands were trembling slightly as I placed the phone down. The living room, once filled with the happy memory of the day, suddenly felt heavy and cold. A part of me wanted to give in, delete the photo, and keep the peace. But another part of me, the part that had raised a son and survived the ups and downs of life, whispered that something was not right. When Michael came by the next morning to drop Sophie off for a few hours, I decided to test the waters. As Sophie ran into the kitchen to play with her toys, I asked him gently, "Michael, did Lena say anything about the photo I posted?" He looked surprised. "No. Why? Should she have?" I shook my head quickly. "Nothing important. She just seemed a little upset." He shrugged and tried to brush it off. "You know, Lena, she doesn't like social media much. Don't take it personally." But I did take it personally, not because of her dislike for social media, but because I had seen her online. I had seen the way she carefully curated her own pictures. Perfect dresses, perfect makeup, perfect dinners out with Michael. She loved showing off the image of a perfect life. So why would she care about a simple family photo from a backyard barbecue? That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed replaying her words, her tone, the fear in her voice. My mind kept circling back to that photo. I opened my phone again and studied it closely. Sophie was in the front, holding her little balloon. Michael had his arm around Lena, and Lena's smile looked perfect as always. Nothing seemed out of place. But the longer I stared, the more uneasy I felt. I zoomed in on the background. The trees swayed, the grill smoked faintly, and a few guests from the neighborhood were visible. And then I remembered I had taken another picture earlier that day, a candid one, not posed, when people weren't aware of the camera. I scrolled back through my gallery until I found it. My breath caught in my throat. There, in the corner of the frame, Lena was standing a little away from the group. She wasn't smiling at Michael. She wasn't even looking at Sophie. She was looking at someone else. And worse, she was holding his hand. I didn't recognize the man at first. He was tall, with dark hair, and he had leaned in close to her, almost protectively. The way she looked at him was not the way a wife should look at anyone but her husband. My heart began to pound. Was this why she wanted the photo taken down? Was she terrified that someone might notice? I set my phone down, my hands shaking. I wanted to deny it, to convince myself I was wrong. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just a friendly gesture. But deep inside, I knew. The fear in Lena's voice, the desperation in her demand, it all made sense now. She wasn't protecting her privacy. She was protecting her secret. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photo in my mind, Lena's hand intertwined with that man's, her smile so different from the one she gave us. It wasn't the polite, posed smile she used for family gatherings. It was warm, alive, and private, a smile that belonged to a woman in love, but not with her husband. I tossed and turned, the weight of what I had seen pressing down on my chest. My son's face kept flashing in my mind, his gentle eyes, his tired smile after a long day of work. Michael was a good man. He didn't deserve this. And Sophie, oh sweet Sophie, she deserved a mother and father who were honest, not a home built on lies. By morning, I felt sick with the secret I now carried. I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee growing cold in front of me. My phone lay on the table like it was staring at me, demanding that I make a choice. Should I delete everything, pretend I hadn't noticed, and keep the peace? Or should I bring the truth out into the light, no matter the cost? Part of me wanted to protect Michael from the heartbreak. He had always looked at Lena as if she hung the moon. He trusted her, leaned on her, and built his whole life around her. Exposing her betrayal would shatter him, and I wondered if he would even believe me. I could already hear Lena twisting the story, making me out to be a bitter, meddling mother-in-law. She was clever like that. But then, another thought struck me. What if I stayed silent? How long would this go on? How long would my son live in the dark, while his wife betrayed him behind his back? I couldn't bear the idea of watching him pour his love into someone who was laughing at his trust. I picked up my phone and opened the gallery again. My finger hovered over the photo. The image burned into me. It wasn't something I could ignore. The decision began to form in my heart, heavy but certain. I had to act. Later that day, Michael came by to pick Sophie up. She had spent the morning coloring at my kitchen table while I pretended everything was normal. When Michael bent down to tie her shoes, I studied his face. He looked tired, maybe more than usual, but his smile for Sophie was soft and full of love. I almost told him right there. The words rose to my throat. Michael, I need to show you something. But when he glanced up at me with that easy trust in his eyes, I froze. I couldn't do it yet. I wasn't ready to break his heart without being absolutely certain he would see the truth with his own eyes. That night, I prayed for guidance. I asked God to give me strength and clarity. And when I opened my eyes, I realized what I needed to do. I wouldn't confront Lena directly. Not yet. She had already shown her claws when she demanded I delete the first picture. If I went after her in private, she would deny everything and twist the story against me. Instead, I decided to reveal the truth in a way she couldn't escape, a way where the evidence spoke for itself. The next morning, I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and pulled up my Facebook page. My hands trembled as I clicked on the upload button. I selected the second photo, the one Lena thought didn't exist, the one that showed her hand in his. Her eyes lit up in a way that betrayed everything she had built with my son. Before I posted it, I hesitated. My mind raced with questions. Was I about to destroy my son's life? Was this the right way? But then I remembered Lena's voice, sharp and panicked, ordering me to stay quiet. That wasn't the voice of someone who was innocent. That was the voice of someone terrified of being caught. I typed a simple caption beneath the photo. Another beautiful memory from yesterday. Family means everything. My finger hovered over the post button for what felt like forever. My heart pounded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. And then, with a deep breath, I clicked share. The photo was live. Almost instantly, I felt a rush of fear and relief at the same time. Fear of what would come next, but relief that I had made the choice. The truth was no longer locked inside me. It was out in the open, where no one could deny it. And in that moment, I knew everything was about to change. The moment I pressed share, my chest tightened. I sat staring at the screen, watching as the small spinning circle confirmed that the photo was now out there for the world to see. My Facebook feed refreshed, and there it was. The picture Lena never thought existed, the one she had been so desperate to bury. At first, there was silence. A few likes popped up from friends who probably hadn't noticed the details. But then, the comments started. Such a lovely family, one cousin wrote. Another added, Sophie is growing so fast, she's beautiful. My heart pounded, waiting for the moment when someone would see it. It didn't take long. Less than an hour later, my phone buzzed with a message from my younger sister. Evelyn, who is that man next to Lena? The question hit me like a stone. Someone else had seen it. Someone else had noticed what I couldn't ignore. My hands shook as I set the phone down. But before I could even gather my thoughts, the calls started. First, it was a distant cousin, then a friend from church. Everyone wanted to know who the man was. And then, the call I dreaded most came in. It was Michael. I answered, my throat dry. Hello, sweetheart. His voice was shaky. Mom, what is this picture? Who is that with Lena? Why does it look like she's holding his hand? My heart sank, hearing the disbelief in his tone. He sounded like a man whose world had just tilted off its axis. I tried to steady my voice. Michael, I didn't want to hurt you, but yes, that's exactly what it looks like. I didn't stage it. I didn't edit it. That's how I captured it. I believe Lena has been hiding something from you. There was a long silence. Then I heard him whisper, "Oh God," before he hung up. I sat frozen in my chair, staring at the wall. My body felt heavy, as though all the years of grief, worry, and love I had carried were pressing down at once. I had wanted to protect him, but now that the truth was out, I wasn't sure if I had saved him or destroyed him. The storm truly hit later that evening. I heard tires screech in front of my house, and moments later, my front door slammed open. Lena stood there, her face flushed with rage. "How dare you!" she screamed, her voice echoing through the hall. "You had no right to post that. You ruined everything." I stood my ground, though my knees trembled. "No, Lena, you ruined everything when you betrayed my son. Don't you dare blame me for showing what you tried to hide." She stormed closer, her eyes wild, her voice dripping with venom. "You always hated me. You wanted me gone from the beginning. You're jealous because I'm younger, prettier, and Michael chose me instead of clinging to you." Her words cut, but I refused to let them show. "This isn't about me. This is about you betraying your husband and your daughter. That man in the photo, who is he, Lena? How long has this been going on?" Before she could answer, the door opened again. Michael walked in, his face pale, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. His eyes darted from me to Lena, and the silence that followed was heavier than anything I had ever felt. Finally, he spoke, his voice cold and broken. "Tell me the truth, Lena. Who is he?" For the first time, I saw fear flash in her eyes. She stammered, He's just a friend. You're imagining things." Michael's voice rose, shaking the walls. "Don't lie to me. That's not how you look at a friend. That's not how you hold hands with a friend." His voice cracked, and for a moment I thought he might collapse right there in my living room. Lena's mask slipped. The charm, the elegance, it all fell away, leaving only a desperate woman scrambling to defend herself. "Fine. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I needed something you couldn't give me. But you would have never found out if your mother hadn't interfered." Her words hit him like a blow. I saw his body flinch, his jaw tighten. He looked at her with a mixture of heartbreak and fury. "You destroyed us, Lena. Not my mother. You!" Lena tried to reach for him, but he stepped back. "Don't," he said firmly. "Don't touch me. Don't speak to me. I need you out." Her face crumbled. "Michael, please." But he turned to me, his voice low and strained. "Mom, thank you for showing me. I wish it wasn't this way, but thank you." In that moment, Lena's composure shattered completely. She let out a scream of frustration and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The sound echoed through the house, leaving a silence that was almost deafening. Michael collapsed onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. I sat beside him, placing my hand gently on his back, but I didn't say a word. There was nothing I could say to fix the pain. The truth had cut deep, and now he had to bleed before he could heal. I looked at him and thought about the chain reaction that one photo had started. A picture I had taken without a second thought had pulled the veil off a lie and exposed the ugly truth underneath. The storm had come, and nothing would ever be the same again. The days after the confrontation felt like walking through the wreckage of a storm. Everything that had once seemed solid and secure in our family was broken. Michael didn't go back home with Lena that night. Instead, he stayed at my house with Sophie, who thankfully had been asleep through the shouting. When I tucked her into bed and kissed her forehead, I felt a pang of sadness. She had no idea that her world was about to change forever. The next morning, Michael sat at my kitchen table, silent, staring into a cup of coffee he hadn't touched. His shoulders slumped, as though the weight of the entire world rested on them. I wanted to tell him it would be all right, but the words caught in my throat. He finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "Mom, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to even look at her now." I placed my hand over his. "You don't have to figure it all out today. Take your time. Just remember, you don't deserve lies. You deserve honesty, and Sophie deserves a home filled with love, not secrets." Michael nodded slowly, tears brimming in his eyes. For the first time, I saw my strong, steady son completely broken, and it nearly tore me apart. Over the next few weeks, the truth spread through the family like wildfire. Everyone who had seen the photo began to ask questions. Some relatives tried to defend Lena, saying maybe it was innocent, but the photo spoke louder than any excuses. The look in her eyes, the way her hand lingered in his, there was no denying what it meant. Michael tried to talk to Lena once more, hoping she would come clean and explain. Instead, she doubled down on her lies, twisting her words to make herself look like the victim. She accused me of plotting against her, of trying to ruin her marriage. That was when Michael's last bit of patience snapped. He filed for divorce. Watching him walk into the courthouse to sign the papers broke my heart. Divorce is never easy, even when it's necessary. He looked 10 years older, weighed down by betrayal. But as painful as it was, I could also see a flicker of strength returning to him. He was choosing truth over lies. He was choosing to build a new life, no matter how hard it would be. Sophie stayed with Michael most of the time. She was too young to understand the details, but children are sharp. She sensed the tension, the missing pieces, and she asked questions that made Michael's voice catch. "Why isn't Mommy here tonight?" she asked one evening, her small hands clutching her teddy bear. Michael pulled her close and said, "Mommy made some mistakes, sweetheart, but Daddy will always be here. And Grandma too." I watched him hug her tightly, and in that moment, I knew he was going to be okay. He was hurting, but he was also growing stronger for his daughter. As for me, I had complicated feelings. On one hand, I felt guilt for being the one to post the photo that ripped everything open. But deep down, I knew the truth would have surfaced eventually. Lies never last forever. On the other hand, I felt relief that my son wasn't trapped in a marriage built on betrayal. Relief that Sophie wouldn't grow up thinking deception was normal. Lena eventually disappeared from our lives. She moved out of town, and although she called Sophie occasionally, her presence faded. It was sad, because no child deserves to lose a parent. But at the same time, I knew Sophie was surrounded by love. Michael poured his whole heart into raising her, and I became more than just a grandmother. I became her safe place. Looking back now, I realized that truth is painful, but silence would have been even more destructive. If I had stayed quiet, Michael would still be living a lie. He would still be loving someone who didn't value him, and Sophie would be growing up in a house built on secrets. Sometimes protecting your family doesn't mean keeping the peace. Sometimes it means breaking it wide open to save the ones you love. That photo changed everything, but it also set us free. So, if you take anything away from my story, let it be this. Don't be afraid of the truth. It may hurt, it may tear things apart, but it also clears the way for healing and honesty. And in the end, that's what every family deserves. Thank you for listening to my story. If you found it meaningful, please subscribe to my channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I love hearing your stories, too.